So, like I was saying before, you know this is like the first interview I've done for this channel.
Hey.
So you're special. You realize
hey,
that?
I feel that. You know what I mean? Like, cool. That's what's up. I'm with that. That's
Yes.
what's up.
All right. Welcome to Savvy Social Events. This is Jazz, and today I have with me the super dope Searius Addishin.
Real name too. Real name.
Searius Addishin, spelled S-E-A-R-I-U-S.
Excellent job. Excellent job. Excellent job.
All right, so we met 2015 at my International Natural Hair Meetup Day.
Bang.
The very first kind of like public event that I did outside of work.
Yes, ma'am.
Doing that for many, many years. And you came as a poet. I wanted you to do a spoken word piece. I met you through my best friend, India Harris Jones.
Hey, India, what up, though? Good looking. Toledo 419, you know what it is?
And she was like, we had a meeting about it, and I was like, we need to have some poetry because natural hair, like every time I go to a poetry event, there's lots of women with natural hair at the event. And so I said, we need to have that integrated into the event somehow. I don't know anybody. And she was like, I know this guy who I went to college with, OSU. His name is Searius. She's like, let me just see what he says. And she came to a Civilization Youth Open Mic. Do you remember that?
That's throwback. Yeah, I do recall.
Yes.
Wow.
I don't even know how she knew about Civilization, but she knew you were going to be there. She went to that and just asked you, and you were like, sure. And I was like, that was easy.
Yeah.
He must be a really cool guy. That's real nice. He don't know if he getting paid or nothing.
Yeah.
He was just like, yes, I'll do it. And you came and you did this amazing poem about natural hair. You made it up just for the event. I thought that was so cool.
Thank you.
I'm gonna try to add a clip of that in this video.
Power is the ability to cause an effect, and the effect I want to cause is the ability to achieve my goal. She was so sweet walking down the street. I felt like she was embodying me, the personification of the old school down south sweet tea, and she thought that I was speaking esoteric, because esoterically it's great to identify people through symbols that have other meanings, because that way I can say a lot by saying a little. She thought that was lovely. I say, hey, your hair is curly, and I see that as beautiful.
Since then, we kind of been partnering on events here and there.
Definitely.
Erotica, art of
Hey.
storytelling,
Hey.
Civilization Youth Open Mic,
Hey.
other various things. And I think we've created a really cool friendship.
I would like
over
to
the
think that.
years.
You know what I mean? I would like to think that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, which is why I wanted you to be my very first interview.
I'm humbled. Totally humbled.
Yes. So let me start with just asking you, what is the 910s group?
Okay.
And how did you start it, and how did you get started with event planning?
Excellent question. The 910s group is an art-based event planning firm or consortium, if you will, which basically means it is a combination of multiple people / professionals who have an interest in the arts, whether it be fine, typically my thing is performance arts, and want to come together and do events based off of that cornerstone. And it grew from there.
Okay.
So that's the 910s group. And the idea of the name, although you didn't ask, I'll just throw it out there.
Please tell us.
Yeah,
Tell us.
the idea is that most people use 1/10 of their ability or of their brain power and whatnot, and we wanted to exemplify using the other 9/10.
Right.
Ooh,
Right.
There you go. So that's that. And I got into event planning as an artist myself.
Okay. So events for you.
For me.
Right.
Definitely. Because what happened was, like 15 years ago, I was into this thing called hip hop, and I knew a lot of good colleagues who would do shows, and we were cool personally, but my branding was a little bit different. It was a tad bit softer. This is like before like the Drake or the Kendrick approaches to things, where you kind of had to be in one category per se.
Right.
And I didn't fit the gangster category as a brand, but that's my dudes did, and I was getting booked, and it just wasn't really going together. You know what I'm saying? I had to go first because of my brand was different or whatnot, and I appreciate the opportunity, but that's what prompts me to like, okay, let me look into doing some things myself, and that's kind of what started that.
Okay. So kind of setting yourself apart because you knew you had something unique.
There you go.
And it needed to be done in a unique way.
There you go.
Okay. Did you transition into spoken word, or was that always a part of what you did?
It always was a part of what I did. and the focus and the percentage point changed in time. I had a good colleague, my man Javier, and he was like, you may know Javi. He was like, well, a while ago, like, poet is what rappers call themselves when they become 30. And I remember he said that, and I wasn't 30 yet, and I used to be like, yeah. And then I hit 30, and it really made sense totally. You know what I mean? And that for a whole other reason for me. So what happened was, I think initially it was like the whole, you know, expressing your authentic thoughts meant something, and being compensated for your idea of compensation, really, that was like the end goal. And then you do it a lot, and you understand the reality of the scenario and how that scenario may fit with your actual scenario, your specific scenario, and then you make decisions. So, and then that, with my maturity, poetry is a better fit.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay. So the types of events that you did initially, and maybe still to this day, but in a different way, were like rap showcases, poetry events. What have been the various different types of events?
Indeed, great question. When I first started, it was just rap showcases. Like, I remember I did a mixtape with Mick Boogie, who at the time was the DJ for the Cleveland Cavs and whatnot, and that was like a really, really big thing. And I brought him down to Columbus, or I brought my man DJ EV down to Columbus, or what have you. And I'd do events that was primarily hip-hop based and whatnot. And then that kind of grew into like hip-hop and vocalists, who I had singers, and, you know, poets that I knew personally. And then that kind of changed in time to primarily like poetry, and then poetry with live music. You know what I mean? And it just grew exponentially from that. It evolved, naturally evolved.
Okay. When it comes to event planning, what are some of the challenges that you faced as an event planner, and how did you address them?
I would say the main challenge is challenging yourself to be honest in your critique about how effective what you're doing is. You know what I mean? I think one of the hardest things about event planning is to understand that it's a very service-oriented approach. So you may be passionate about your idea and why you do what you do. It completely stops right there. The relevance of why you do and how you want to do is practically irrelevant. What matters is how are you going to connect with people who care about what you do the way you want to do it. Because if you have an idea of what you want to do and how you want to do it, but if no one else cares enough to be a patron for that, it's totally irrelevant in the world of event planning.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, and then one of the biggest hurdles is success. Because you can be successful one time, and that's a good thing, you know, per your standards. If you met your numbers, your metrics, and the quality of the event was per your standard, that's great. Sometimes that is the hardest thing I could think of for doing the second event. Because it's easy to overlook what could have been done in that first event, but what should be done in the second event, because the first one was successful. And people change. You know what I mean? You know, your event, the first time you did it, might have been kind of niche because the first time you did it. The second time you did, you have different issues. It's like, okay, well, if you did it a second time, that means the first event wasn't a one-of-one. So if you're gonna have a second event, you may have a third event. And since you may have a third event, it might not be important for me to go to the second event because it's gonna happen again. Like, how do you approach that psychology and whatnot?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I know how you may feel about it. Of course, you can approach it how you may feel about it. You know what I'm saying? But you still want to be effective with it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's been very challenging. I like to think that we address each challenge head on successfully, but that was an initial challenge, definitely.
Okay. And we've talked about like having community, having an audience being really important to planning events, because I think you made a good point. You know, you can have an idea of what's going to bring people out, but if nobody's listening, if no one knows about it, if no one has the motivation to come out, it's going to be, you know, the success of your events may not be as high as you'd like for them to be. So,
Definitely.
How have you built community for the types of events that you've done?
I think two parts play a role in developing community. One is consistency. Regardless of what, you have to be consistent. You have to be thorough. You have to add on value to somebody who may look at or want to be a patron for what you do. That is important, because you can have an event that has 5 people, 50 people, 500 people, and whatnot. If you're not consistent, if you have a good follow through, if your word or your brand is not indicative to what you may put out there, and meeting what you put out there or exceeding what you put out there, that's not going to be good for you in the long term. So I think consistency is a big part of it. Okay. And then I also think that being a successful event planner, you're like a psychologist in many regards. You know what I mean? Or at least I am. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to be able to selflessly and accurately and honestly think for the other person who's not going to tell you directly what they feel. You know what I'm saying? And you have to be accountable for that.
For both people who maybe have come to your events and liked it, and for people who maybe aren't coming
100%.
or who did come and didn't like it, or whatever the case may be.
Like, you have to put on a package that will justify the traction of somebody who came to a previous event, as well as somebody coming out for the first time the same way. You want both of those.
Right.
You know what I mean? To do that, you have to be a pretty decent thinker. I don't think a lot is involved, depending on your market. That's also important.
Yeah.
Because putting on an event that has 100 people, I mean, that sounds cool. I like numbers. I'm a numbers person. So 100 people typically is a nice, safe number or whatnot. What it means to get 100 people in your area totally depends. Like, if you did your first event and you just have 100 people who just want to see you succeed, that might be kind of easier than not. You know what I'm saying? If you're known for doing pro events and whatnot, or if you're doing a type of event where somebody feels that they can go to an event similar somewhere else for a different price point, you know what I mean? Those are all challenges.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And I would say a lot of my events have been people that I know, people
Right.
like family, friends, like that's how it started.
Right.
And then you kind of start building a following
Exactly.
after you start doing it more consistently. And like for me, it was like, oh, she's known as the Columbus Naturalistas girl and natural hair events, you know, type
that's a
thing.
beautiful
So
thing. Yeah.
I think branding is also important
100%.
to kind of build that community.
Yeah, and then I will also say, give them a lot of good free advice. But I will also say that it's important to define your goals up front. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because, like, depending on what your goal, that's going to determine the actions you take that are measured as wise.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like, of course, most people, when it comes to events or really anything, they're going to be like, I want to make money. Okay, that's cool. That's fair. You know what I mean?
You need money to plan the next event.
You need money, whatnot. Okay, what does that look like?
Yeah.
Like, for example, in all respect, theoretically speaking, I could probably get a pornographic sponsorship with relative ease because they rarely can sponsor anything that's not in that very, very niche demographic and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? But do you want that on your brand?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
You want to be associated with that.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? These are all event planning morsels and specific details that all play a part in your overall event. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So definitely.
Okay. Doing all the various events that you've done, I think you probably have a good idea of how to promote, how to market all these various different ways. What have been the most effective methods that you found?
I have a macro and a micro answer. The macro answer is to find a way to connect with your person. The person is the patron who's going to pay for whatever event that you're doing, period. And it's your responsibility to find a way. And that way may change over time. It may change in seasons in the same year, depending. Like, for example, I'm in Columbus, Ohio. So doing an event on the same day as an Ohio State football game is a magnificent way to fail unless you have a culture and a community already cultivated for that.
Right.
100%.
Right.
So you have to know your market. Like, doing an event during work hours for people who actually are employed, it might not be the best thing.
Right.
So on a macro scale, I would say that's it. So on a micro scale, me specifically, I've had 2 events that stood out a lot. One was I had marketing set up for an event we did, which really catered to everyone involved in the event. So we had marketing for each band member, each performance artist, and the venue, and the caterer, and the vendors, etc. And it made it more a communal feel, and it made each individual want to promote it more to the people who support them for what they do.
Right.
Because that's their name and their face on it. That was big. And we also had another event that was at a venue that was kind of niche in its own regard, and it was very popular in its own regard, and it brought people, I think, because of that. And it was open bar.
Right.
So definitely.
Open bar sells itself.
It
right?
really does.
So I think you gave a ton of really good advice just then, but I have more questions.
No
Because that's the
worries.
whole point of this channel, is to get free event planning advice.
Yes,
So
definitely.
what would you say to yourself? Like, what did you want to know before you got started that you wish you had known?
The value of building a team to do what you do. You know what I mean?
A team, yeah.
A team, definitely. It sounds cliche, but it's so real. And some people do it naturally, and if you do, that's a good trait to have. I'll say the value of a team, because I come from like that 90s hip hop era where you would grind solos to accomplish your goals. You know what I'm saying? And that's okay. That's admirable. That's cool. But like when you're doing event planning, like, and I've done it before a while ago, but I've done it before. Well, like if you charge yourself with being responsible with every single detail, and let's say you are successful in that, if you want to call that success, you're gonna hate the experience. And if you hate the experience, you're not gonna want to do it again. And I've done that more times than I can count. And I slowly and stubbornly got out of that habit. Now, I don't have that problem. You know what I'm saying? Because I've learned that I think it's, from event planning to business as a whole, you know, the CEO or the founder, the head person, the best thing for that person to do is the only thing that they can do.
Yeah.
Every other thing that somebody else can do, someone else should be charged with doing that and whatnot. You want to only be doing what you only can do and should be doing. What have you.
I have a video called Build Your Tribe.
Bang.
And it is all about having a team.
Yes.
And how to create a team, how to manage a team, how to maintain a team. Because I think that is critical. There's so many ins and outs of event planning that I don't think people realize. There's so many details. There's so much follow through. And so to have other people that are part of that process that, like you said, can take on a lot of that stuff so you can be kind of bigger picture is so huge. And it's important to also kind of build community as well with your team. And
that's something I'm even still working on. Like, I'll be honest, I'll be fortunate. Like, I think that one of the best jewels I could offer is that you don't have to, or one person, or if your idea, you don't have to run it all. And you shouldn't run it all. You know what I'm saying? You should be confident enough in your idea to bring on other people to do other details, what have you. You know what I mean? Because if you're doing the high and the low to the same degree, you're going to burn yourself out.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so true. What would you say to someone who's a beginner event planner, just starting out? What advice would you give them?
I would say know what you want to get out of the event. That's one category. And then the second category is, okay, who else would like that? I think that.
So knowing your audience?
Yeah, knowing your audience, definitely. And if you don't know who your audience is, that's okay. That's something for you to look and define.
Right.
Or if you know who your audience is, but you don't have a already consolidated audience of those people who've patronized or who've supported what you've done before, then now you got a task to do what have you. You know what I mean? Because for example, you could be like, my audience is people who like Smurfs. That's my target demographic. But if you never brought that many people per your determination of success into one place at one point in time and whatnot, that's what you need to work on and whatnot. But how do we facilitate that? You know what I'm saying? And then everyone's different. Me personally, like I'm a numbers person, and I'm a big fan of the law of large numbers, because it makes the likelihood of success that much more, and you don't have to take everything so personal. So like if I do an event, I'm going to reach out to, let me tell it, at least 2,000 people, at least. But like that goes to the previous question. The game is so different now in a good way. But you can purchase a Facebook ad and reaching them 2,000 people with $10.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
At the same time, in 2017 is not the same as it was in 2007 or even 1997. Definitely. You know what I mean? People are inundated with information 24/7. Inundated.
Yeah.
So you having just
you gotta cut through the noise.
They get noise 24/7. So to be able to say something in a way that connects with someone who wants to come out that's an actual stranger, that means something. That's value. That's gold. You know what I'm saying? So that person is gold. So you want a bunch of those people, and what it takes to cater to them for them to come back. That's also another thing as well. If you're doing more than one event, you want to leave an impression that will create a traction path. If you did something again, they will come back again if they could.
Yeah, that's awesome advice. So I have another video about knowing your audience.
This
is like, you know, it's like together. It's all coming together.
Yeah.
Because that is huge. And we talked about that earlier. Like, if nobody's gonna come out, depending on what success means to you, it may not be as successful as you want it to be. So
Indeed.
Knowing your audience is huge. And there are places that you can start small and then grow from there.
Indeed.
Check out the video. I will link it for you.
Definitely.
How can people reach you? How can they follow you? Is it Facebook, Instagram?
Yeah, it's all of that. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Facebook, just put Searius Add. And Searius is spelled SEARIUS. Instagram and Twitter is now changed. It's Searius Speaks.
Okay.
highlight my
Searius
speaking
Speaks.
platform, if you will. So,
Well, thank you again, Searius.
it's a pleasure.
Follow
Thank you.
Searius. Find him on Facebook and Instagram, Twitter. The YouTube is coming.
It is.
It's coming soon.
It is.
And it was a pleasure.
Indeed.
Thank
Likewise.
You.
Thank you.
Thank you.